Hey! Welcome back to the Island Shuffle. I'm your host, Bean.
And Jim.
Jimothy Brown. Jimothy Brownathy. Guess what we do on this podcast?
I think we talk about Lost.
You're right about that.
But there's a twist.
Here's the twist. It was Jack all along.
Oh, Jack was the island all along.
The island was within us all along. The real island was the friends we made along the way. That actually is the end of the show. Sorry, spoilers. I made a joke about, I made a meme joke, and then I remembered, no, that's actually the end of the show. I forgot.
If your Uncle Jack helped you off a horse, was it Jack all along?
I don't know what to make of that.
It's just a little riddle. The answer is yes.
Helped you off a horse? Why a horse?
It is, so this is something I learned in, I think, the 4th grade.
Okay.
And it's something that 12-year-olds say, well, maybe 10-year-olds say, and it goes, if your Uncle Jack helped you off a horse, would you help Jack off a horse? But it was a little play on that.
Okay, a little schoolyard prank.
A little schoolyard humor.
A real look under there. Underwear? Yeah.
What?
Well, the trick is that I made you say
what?
Underwear. Yeah.
Is there any other ones that we know?
No, I think those are the only two.
Those are the only two.
It's like it's a real East Coast, West Coast. It's a real New Brunswick PEI dichotomy where you either had underwear or you had the jack off a horse thing.
And those were the only two.
Yeah, those were the only two. I'm glad we could confirm that. And now the purpose of the podcast is complete. Thank you for listening.
Goodbye.
We've done it. And we'll catch you next week. No, of course not.
No, we still have so much to talk about.
We have a lot to talk about. On this show, we should say what we actually do, which is we watch Lost, but we watch it out of order, as determined by a random number generator.
And would you guess how many episodes of Lost there are? Guess right now.
We'll wait.
120.
Well, that's incredibly accurate. That's
Who
an accurate
said
guess.
that?
Who was that? Who barged in here and squeaked that little answer out?
Who barged in very quietly? There's 120 episodes.
There's 120 episodes, and this is episode 5 of 120.
Which is incredible.
Which means that we are We're 1/60th of the way through this endeavor, I think.
Wow.
Or one something? I don't think that math quite checks out.
It is not 1/60th, that's for sure.
It's 1/24th. 1/20 quarter.
It was 1/20 quarter, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's good. Math is hard after you've just watched an episode of Lost. What episode of Lost did we watch this week?
Well, we watched episode 16.
Yes.
Of the entire series.
Yes, the 16th episode. We popped the top of a fresh season. Season 1.
The freshest season.
Mm-hmm. This season won the Emmy for Best Drama the year that it was. It sure did. It swept the nation.
What other dramas were going around then? Do you know?
I don't know.
Was Dexter going on? That was probably pre-Dexter.
I think that was pre-Dexter, pre-Your Mads.
Was The Wire still on?
The Wire was still on, but The Wire notoriously got very snubbed by the Emmys.
Oh my goodness.
Can you believe it? It's the greatest.
They gave it to Lost and not The Wire? Let's change our show. Yeah. Let's talk about The Wire.
Let's talk about The Wire out of order. So in this episode, McNulty is mean to me.
McNulty has sex with someone who's not his wife.
Yeah.
But that sort of makes sense because his wife has divorced him.
Yes, he's divorced, but he's still cheating. And then there's also boat people for some reason.
Bunk? That character's bunk, if you ask me.
Yeah, he's just... Oh, boy.
What kind of bed does McNulty's partner sleep on?
I'm trying to think of the...
A bunk bed.
I was trying to come up with another episode. I knew the answer. I was trying to come up with another character from The Wire, and I couldn't.
Ah, yes. Not Bubbles. Was one Bubbles?
Bubbles was a character for sure.
Okay.
Hey, enough horsing around. This isn't a Wire podcast. This is a Lost podcast.
I tried to make it a Wire podcast. We got pretty far.
We did our best. Okay. So this episode is called Outlaws, Season 1, Episode 16. And boy, I don't know where to... Let's just start with the obvious hook, which is that we're 5 episodes deep. And this is the 3rd episode we've watched, centered around the protagonist, apparently, of the show, Sawyer.
From my experience, the majority of the show deals solely with Sawyer.
Yes, he is a rich and powerful character who drives the show with his conflict and his sass and his regrets.
And his consistent ability to every single episode that's about him within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
He's taking a woman to bed.
He is. In this episode, he does not succeed.
He
the
doesn't-
fuck count
he doesn't
remains
go all
at
the
0
way.
in this one.
Yeah.
Sadly. So, God, okay, so... You know how we watched season 2 episodes and we were like, this is a crazy show, and we watched season 6 episodes and you're like, this is a different show.
Mm-hmm.
In many ways, season 1 is also pretty much an entirely
It was
different
a very
show.
different show, yeah.
It's pretty much a whole new show. There's a lot of there's literally zero mystery at all.
Yeah.
None of the like mythos at all is a thing. The plot of the on island plot is the on island plot is basically Sawyer, a boar fucks with Sawyer's camp, and then Sawyer sets out on revenge against this boar.
Yeah, there was no mystery to
There's
the
no
show.
mystery.
There was no supernatural. There was a pig.
Yeah, there's a pig, and it fucked with Sawyer's camp.
It was
and
a show about a pig.
The show about a pig. The main, the hot drama of the episode came primarily in the flashbacks when we learned about Sawyer's sordid deeds.
And they were sad.
Mm-hmm.
We learned all about Sawyer's past, all about his childhood incident, the thing that set him off on the path of crime that he has been on ever since that day.
Yes, the very first scene is a scene that we actually have discussed before, which is the scene of baby Sawyer under a bed. His dad comes home all pissed off, and they're screaming and scuffling, and we see it all we see is Sawyer's point of view, really, from underneath the bed. So we see a closed door and the light creeping out from under the door, and we hear scuffling and screaming, and then a gunshot, and then the sound of a body falling, and then the door opens, and his dad in cowboy boots sits on the bed.
Sits on the door.
And then we hear a gunshot, and then snap, Sawyer's back awake on the island. He's sick, he's done remembering his horrible trauma.
He had enough remembering.
Yes, for 1 episode.
Oh. But then he remembers later.
Yeah, he'd spent a lot of time remembering.
I guess it was just enough remembering for that one moment.
Exactly.
I guess they wanted to do something in the episode that wasn't just him remembering, because he needed to fight a pig.
Absolutely. Someone's gotta fight a pig. God, I just keep thinking about how everything in this episode is such a stark contrast from even the season 2 episodes.
Yeah, the season 2 is all about the Dharma. It was all about this gigantic, sort of conspiracy-esque, very large-scale thing. And there was none of that. There was no mystery whatsoever.
It was a lot of... The on-island stuff felt very... I don't want to say slice of life-y, because it's not the most natural... It's not super oh, this is right out of my life. Fighting a pig and then sassing with my friends. But it did feel very, very character-driven.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I
think that's a good way of putting it.
It was a bit soap opera-y.
Yeah,
Sawyer
for
was
sure.
sad.
For sure.
Everyone... It seemed like every single character, actually, that was featured prominently. And I'm talking, Sawyer, Kate, Saeed, Charlie.
Yeah.
I think they were the most prominently featured. Maybe Jack. But all of them experienced a plethora of emotions. They were melancholy and sad and happy.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, and then getting by and dealing with their traumas that they've committed.
They've all killed a man.
Most of the dudes we mentioned...
Jack hasn't killed a man.
I don't think Jack has killed a man
But,
yet.
I mean, Jack. Could he even kill a man?
Well, why don't you watch and see? Why don't you wait and see? I'm sure eventually we'll get an episode dedicated to not Sawyer.
Oh my god, Who do you want to see the most? I would like to see a Hurley episode.
I would love a Hurley episode. I kind of want to... I don't know. The thing is, there's so many options, and some of them are not good.
I could go for that Charlie episode. I sort of hate Charlie, and I want to like him.
I think that's what those, like, the classic thing about Lost is like, this character stinks, and then you watch his episode, and then you're like, no, he's actually a good guy.
Yeah, I know his backstory.
I could really fucking tear the bone off some Locke episode.
Fact.
Yes.
The only thing I vividly remember from a Charlie episode is a Charlie episode introduced me to the song Wonderwall by Oasis.
Oh.
That was the first time I had ever heard Wonderwall. I remember looking it up and being like, wow, that's a great song. And then I googled the words, today is gonna be the day. And then I watched that song like couple times.
Yes. This is a revelation.
This is what Lost sort of gave. I think that's why it won the Emmy.
I think so, yeah. I think, well, I mean, I don't think Wonderwall was that huge a song until Lost came along.
Yeah, I mean, Oasis was okay. And then Lost came out, and they had to break up.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like how, you know, Nine Inch Nails had that Hurt song, and it was fine. And then Johnny Cash came along and really made Hurt into something else.
Do you think
this is
Johnny
kind of like
Cash,
that with Wonderwall?
Like, listens to Nine Inch Nails?
No.
No.
Absolutely not.
I wonder how that one came about.
Rick Rubin said do this song, I think.
Oh, good.
I'm pretty sure that's what that is. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure all those series were like, hey, check out this song. Maybe you could do this.
And
he was
then
like,
Johnny was like,
right.
ooh, could I ever do this?
Yeah, I'll show you.
Wow. All right.
I don't know. Maybe Johnny Cash really did like throw down to Pretty Hate Machine. Who knows?
They should have a Johnny Cash episode in this show.
I feel like there must be.
There's probably yeah. I feel like Locke is pretty much Johnny Cash.
You know who I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Patsy Cline. All the Kate episodes have Patsy Cline songs. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I haven't seen a Kate episode in a long time.
Yeah, that's another one. I remember there's a couple episodes where like they have like 3 or 4 episodes a season, and by like season 2, it's clear they're like spinning their wheels. I'm pretty sure
because they like pretty much went through all the aspects of someone's backstory that they were ready to create.
Exactly, and now it's like it's just like I don't really care about this. I don't really care about the time Kate like got married or whatever.
It was brief, she said in this episode. What else happened in this episode?
Literally not very much. The biggest. Let's dive into the flashback stuff because I feel like that's the real like.
That's what the episode was for.
That was for the flashback stuff, and then we get like some lighthearted character stuff on the island. So we see that grim flashback. Then we see the flashback where Sawyer is getting it with the lady.
Oh wow, that was incredible.
You know that Sawyer is I'm not even gonna finish what I was gonna say there.
Well, what I thought was amazing about that scene was he made out with the woman, and then they were both on the bed, and it was like, Sawyer, you dog.
Yeah, it was literally all 3. I can't even get this thought out. All 3 Sawyer episodes we've seen, the first flashback scene we've seen has been
This was the
Sawyer.
second flashback scene. The first flashback scene was the death of both of his parents.
That's true. But the first scene's featuring Josh Holloway.
Yeah.
Had him making out and horning it up.
Well, I bet, like, what do you do as an actor when you just keep getting handed this exact scene over and over and over again?
We were literally like, we can't wait for the briefcase to fall out and him to go, we weren't supposed to see that, and then some other fucked thing happens.
What happened?
What actually happened was before they.
Why didn't Sawyer get to have sex with this lady?
The reason is
because he was about to.
He was about to, and I was right there. I was cheering him on. We were so proud of our son. Sawyer.
I wanted to see them tastefully covered up by sheets.
Yes, and then pillow talking, and then sassing, and then Sawyer going, "Whoa, I'm late."
Sorry, yeah.
And then the
she wears one of his fucking shirts.
Real, class. How people make love. You know, how human beings make love.
How con men make love.
Yes, how the grifters do it. So before they can get down to brass tacks, light goes on in the corner, and there's a fella, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna interrupt this because this is awkward."
And it's like, yeah.
And it is awkward, and you're right. But
what if he waited?
What if you... it just was the full scene of them, like 2 minutes, and then like cut to them covered in sheets, and then like click. That was great, guys. You did a good job. Look at you.
Wow. That would have been...
That would have been way better.
Yeah, that would have been a better show.
Mm-hmm. That's not what happens. He interrupts them and goes, "Hey, guys. I gotta talk to Sawyer alone." And the woman leaves, and Sawyer violently attacks him and says, "You weren't supposed to talk to me. What are you doing following me all the way out here? You're from my past, and I don't like you." And he says, "I know I'm from your sordid past, but I've got the news."
The Tampa
job.
That's why he was mad.
He says, like, "Look, this'll make up for the Tampa job." And Sawyer says, "Nothing's gonna make up for the Tampa job." And
do you think the thing that Sawyer was so mad about with the Tampa job was the fact that he had to spend time in Tampa?
It was just an office job in Tampa.
Exactly. He was like, "I thought we were gonna go meet criminals and
I
shoot
didn't
people
get-
up, but
I-
instead you convinced me to work for Amazon in Tampa."
I didn't get no benefits and I never got my overtime pay.
You laid me off, sir.
Son of a bitch. Boss.
So Sawyer is mad because his old boss came in and interrupted his sex to talk about the old office job that he had in Tampa.
Yeah, but then he says, "Well, this'll make up for it. I got a lead that'll tell you where to find a man named Sawyer. You know, the same man you took your name from. The same man what grifted your family and made a murder-suicide." I don't think he quite sounded like that, but he definitely... It's not like we were being accurate before, so why start now? May as well go full tilt.
You know that man who... He rode a horse up to your house and he killed your family. You know that man? What else have we got? You know that man, he...
Keep going.
He's the reason your ice cream cone drips down your hand every day.
He's the reason you wake up every night and think of a boar.
That's a good one.
So he flies up to Sydney, has a talk with a fella in Sydney, buys a gun illegally, and the gun salesman says, "This seems like a gun." Well, he says it in an Australian accent because it's Sydney. He says, "This seems like a gun." Not gonna keep doing that. This seems like a gun.
This seems like...
You know how Australian people just talk a little deeper, and that's the accent.
Seems like a gun.
Seems like a gun.
This seems like... Okay. But it did seem like a gun.
I mean, yeah, he wasn't wrong. I mean, he's a gun salesman. I would hope that he could at least identify it.
He had, like, the first time he handed him a horseshoe, and he was like, "Oh, nope, not a gun."
Oh, not again, damn it.
Shoebox, no, that's just where I store my gun. Oh, this seems like a gun.
This seems like a gun. And he hands him a gun, and he says, "You know what? This seems like a gun for murder. not just scaring, but for stone cold killing. And you're not gonna know, when killing's hard, and some people don't have what it takes, and you'll know when you cock and loaded and all that."
That's a bullshit thing for him to say.
Yeah, like, Sawyer, in fact, calls him out, and he's like, aren't you supposed to be selling me this?
Yeah, just sell me the gun. Like, who do you think you're selling these guns to?
Yeah.
He's all about, like, oh, this ain't one of those scaring guns that I'm always selling. Like, who is buying these guns that are specifically not powerful enough to kill someone, but do a great job of scaring someone?
Yeah, they really spook him. He's selling, like, prop guns. He's selling those guns in Looney Tunes that, like, shoot out and then unfurl like a little piece of paper that says "bang" on it.
You've been served.
Yeah, exactly.
It says he shoots it, and then the flagpole pops out, then the flag pops down, and in Australian it says, "This seems like a gun." So Sawyer takes his gun.
And he tracks down this Sawyer man, the real Sawyer supposedly, and he sees him parked at a truck named Sweet Shrimp.
Sweet Shrimp.
So he's selling shrimp, out of a food truck in the middle of pretty much nowhere.
Yeah.
Really?
He really should have put his food truck in the middle of somewhere.
In the middle of somewhere. I feel like Sweet Shrimp would make a killing in downtown Sydney, or at least at least Melbourne.
Yeah. Even a smaller Australian town. What else? There's Perth.
Perth is a place in Australia. There's probably more, I bet.
I think I didn't watch all of Kangaroo Jack, but
fuck. Oh, I'm sorry. Formal apology to Australia. We're wrong about your accent and your geography. We're really blowing it on all fronts.
Before we do the next Australia episode, I will watch all of Kangaroo Jack.
Okay, yeah. That's definitely something that Australia will appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he goes up to the in a really actually intense scene that I kind of liked. He goes up and he says, and the guy at the shrimp cart just says, you know, what are you having, mild or spicy? And Sawyer's like sitting there like looking pissed. You see like him like holding the gun at his side, and it starts to shake, and he's just like, spicy, I guess. and the guy just is like chatting him up, and he's like, hey, you're American, I love Americans. And Sawyer's just like trying not to lose his mind because he's bad at murder. So the moral of the story is that murder is hard and will weigh on you severely for the rest of your life.
Which I mean, I believe it.
I believe it. That's as far as morals go. Sure, I'll take it.
I haven't killed a man yet, but I assume whenever it happens, I won't forget.
Yeah. I buy that. You know, as far as lost, crazy, buck wild schemes go, this is one of the more believable ones.
I was in Scotland, and there's this guy. He looked like a real gruff guy, and I asked him for a gun, and he was like, "Do you know what it feels like to kill a man?"
Well, that's the end of the podcast forever.
Bye, everybody.
Good night. This was we made it 4.5 episodes before we realized that we were in too deep.
This is an inappropriate use of bandwidth.
Yep, it's definitely. I mean, you're free to delete it. You're free to stop watching, stop listening, whatever. However you.
Don't stop watching Lost.
Don't stop watching Lost, but keep. We gotta. Of course we're gonna keep going. Of course we're gonna keep telling the story. So
that didn't really happen, by the way.
Yeah,
I was never in Scotland.
You were never in Scotland, and a man never killed anybody. So okay. Sawyer eventually chickens out, goes to a bar and retreats, and he's just taking shots, and he's sad, and he's like, another bartender, and he's like, are you sure? And he's like, another bartender, and I'm definitely really having a lot of fun doing all these really super accurate impressions of all the characters.
Give me another bartender.
The classic Sawyer line, give me another bartender.
I think maybe later I'll go find a woman and make sweet love to her, and then break my briefcase on the way out. As I rush out, I look at the clock and go, oh shit, it's too late.
Well, you American bartenders, you're all the same. Us Australians, we can't handle you crazy Yanks.
Give me the cash, bartender. That looks like a gun.
Oh man.
That one's gonna keep coming back.
I mean, I know, and it's nobody's fault but my own. So he's sitting there drinking at the bar, and another lonely drunken soul at the bar, starts chatting him up and saying some drunk bullshit at him. And as the camera pans over, we, the audience, realize this ain't just any random old bozo.
It's an American.
It's another American. And his name
is Jack's dad.
His name is Jack's dad. His name is actually Christian, I think. Which makes his full name Christian Shepherd.
Christian Shepherd. Ooh.
Fucking get it, dude?
Boo.
Yeah.
Boo.
Boo. That sucks.
You know what's crazy?
What's that?
I think after learning that, so Sawyer had the gun on him the whole time, right? I assume when he was doing shots.
It's a tiny enough gun, sure.
In that moment, he should have shot Jack's dad.
What'd you say your name was? Oh, Christian Shepherd. You ever read the book?
That looks like a gun. That's what the bartender would say.
So The audience who's watching this normally, and we also know because we've seen the show before, but Jack's dad is a disgraced alcoholic surgeon who was put out of a job in a testimony from none other than Jack himself.
Bad boy Jack, BBJ.
Bad boy Jack, but maybe he did the right thing. During his chat with Sawyer, Jack's dad reveals that, my son thinks that I hate him, but I'm actually very proud of him because it took him a lot of courage to do what he did to me. Oh, what he did for me. And he, it wasn't easy because the whole reason he got canned was because he killed a guy on the table because of his alcoholism.
Yeah, he had a couple too many drinks at lunch, and then after lunch he went and accidentally killed a man. Which, I mean, if you work in say you work at a gas station and you have a few too many drinks at lunch, if you go to work after, you probably won't kill anybody.
No, you won't. But if you're a surgeon, you've kind of got a responsibility to stay sharp.
I don't know about that.
Well,
I mean, I think it's the same thing,
the more I think about it, I think gas station cashier and surgery is a real one-to-one there.
That's why, yeah, exactly. So, I think he should have just got fired and then not have any other consequences, but that's basically what happened.
Yeah, okay, so it seems like you're on the same page.
Okay, yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah. God.
That was a hot take.
That's a take and a half. You agree with what the hospital did, the consequences are for drinking on the job.
Honestly, yeah. The hospital.
Now we're getting somewhere.
So the dad was like, I'm proud of my son and I love him, and I could phone him and tell him all this and it would solve all of my problems. But instead I'm going to drink myself to death in Australia.
Yep, and that, sure enough, that's what he goes off and does. And he goes to drink himself to death in Australia.
But not before telling Sawyer, giving him a piece of advice.
And that piece of advice is, whatever is causing you to suffer in here, you should go take care of it, basically. Because don't wind up like me, a guy who's going to die from alcoholism. You should go,
commit a murder.
Jack's dad basically, he doesn't know that he's doing this. He's just like, go cure what ails you. Go actually deal with it, not like me. And Sawyer says, yeah, okay, I should commit that murder.
Do you ever think that maybe you accidentally said that to someone once and you're like, buddy, you should really go for it,
you know? You thought you were giving some friendly advice and then was a little too friendly.
A little too friendly, a little killing friendly,
a little too murder oriented. So Sawyer, sure enough, goes back to the shrimp truck at closing time, commits that murder, and he pulls out his famous, iconic letter that he wrote when he was a wee lad and starts
reading. Let her go, Sawyer.
Let her go.
Okay, sorry. It just came out.
I understand. I completely understand. The compulsion to make puns is a strong one. So he pulls out his letter, starts reading it, and the guy's like, what? Mr. Sawyer? I've never been a Sawyer. Did that guy send you? I would have paid the money. I would have friggin' paid, buddy. And then he dies. So Sawyer didn't end up killing the fella what has been tormenting him all these years. He just killed some guy that owed the Tampa guy money. He was just being played.
He was being played.
It wasn't worth all the murder, and that's what's been tormenting him.
That's what the hog is.
That's what the hog is. It's a Lord of the Flies-esque metaphor for the beast within us all.
Have you read the Lord of the Flies?
Yeah, I read it in middle school, high school maybe.
Is it good?
It's alright. It's pretty, definitely better than I thought it was.
Yeah? Was it scary? Was it
it gets pretty creepy. It gets pretty intense. Those kids definitely commit murders.
Cool. I want to read it.
And one kid has a gnarly hallucination about a dead boar's head on a stick. It gets pretty wild.
Cool. Yeah, maybe I'll read it.
Yeah, that's and the premise is the same, except different. But the premise is kids get stranded on an island. What happens to humanity? Except in Lord of the Flies, it's all reason goes out the window. And in Lost, it's the island was within us all along. I mean, this is pretty much a one-to-one.
Funny. That's a really funny comparison. It's like one is like a really interesting, like intricate portrait of what humanity is. The other just devolves into absolute bullshit.
And it's worth noting that like the first season feels like on another level in how enjoyable it is to like look at and watch these characters interact with and be friends with each other. Like that's most of what's going on the island. Is Sawyer is like, I'm like, the boar like takes apart his tent and he's like, I'm gonna fight this boar, and Kate's like, you sound like an idiot. You think this boar really has a vendetta against you? And he's like, I don't care, I'm going after this boar. And he goes into the forest and like fucks up repeatedly, and Kate follows him and he's like, you're a dumbass idiot, you're just such a goober. And like it feels like charming.
Yeah, absolutely. Charming is a good word for it. Yeah, it's like, I feel like at this point they just haven't exhausted the characters at all. Like the characters are still interesting, whereas I mean, to bring it back to season 6 all the time is so sort of unfair because of how crazy it is. But it's like season 6 Sawyer is a fucking like what is the word? He's like a joke of himself. What's the word? He's a thing of himself.
He's a parody of himself.
He's a parody of himself. There we go. Yeah. So just imagine I said that 20 seconds ago.
Well, I'll do some editing wizardry, and they won't tell the difference.
Perfect.
And like, there's a bunch of like weird little moments. Like when they're out hanging out in the jungle, they have a really long scene where they're drinking like little bottles of airplane liquor, and they start playing like Never Have I Ever, the drinking game, and they just like start like, you know, it starts off innocuous, and then eventually it turns into like them slamming each other. Kate is like, well, I never carried around a letter because I can't get over my emotional baggage, and I never chased a boar and I never blamed a boar for all my problems. And Sawyer is like begrudgingly immediately takes a sip, and then it eventually ends with them going, I never killed a man, and then they both drink.
Why in that moment were they talking in an Australian accent?
Well, why wouldn't they be? This show's just crazy.
Yeah. No. And that is really what feels different here. Is it's less about this gigantic, ridiculous plot. It's less about, like, the Dharma Initiative is this incomprehensible thing that's out to get us. Or it's less about, like, this island is this incomprehensible thing that's out to get us.
Yeah, the more present mystery is, did Sawyer commit a murder, and how is he going to cope with that, not just in the past, but in the present?
Yeah, exactly.
The other B-plot on the island, we've been going for a bit, so I just want to touch on this. The B-plot on the island is...
There's bees.
There's bees. There's a million bees, and nobody knows what to do with them. We get a scene out of nowhere. I had to this was a jarring scene that I had to remember.
Because you didn't
I kind of forgot.
Really. And I had seen it too, I guess. So
but if memory serves, Charlie and Hurley are burying a body. And that body is that of... Ethan, I believe.
Yeah, we assume.
Ethan's a fella who he's one of the others who infiltrated the survivors, and they eventually find out that he was never on the plane and murder him because of all the terrible things he's done.
He doesn't even go here.
It's a classic Mean Girls meme.
I watched that movie recently, and I'm in.
You're in?
I love it.
Had you never seen it before?
I had never seen it before.
Wow.
Which is crazy. It would have actually been like a... Probably like top 20 movies. I think it's really, really incredible.
It's definitely a remarkable movie. That definitely, like, when you strip away all the, like... I definitely spent, like, too long on Tumblr and saw it all get, like, broken down into,
you
like,
saw the
GIFs.
Entire movie through, like, these screenshots.
Exactly, yeah. I was like, you go, Glen Coco, and I was like, please stop. Please just let me have peace. But yeah, that movie, like, you take that all away, and the movie absolutely holds up.
It was incredible. I don't really want to look at it on the internet because
yeah,
it's really enjoyable. It's just an hour and a half of
it's very. You can find like Let's go ahead and date this immediately. I'm sure you can find like the Comey testimony as told through Mean Girls gifs or some shit like that.
Of course, yeah.
So
Ethan doesn't go there.
So Ethan doesn't go there, and like they're burying the body, and I believe Charlie is the one who committed the murder, and as a result of this murder that he committed, he's been kind of weird and distant.
He's sad,
and Hurley goes up to Saeed and says, "Hey, you were a soldier in the Gulf War, right? Do you know how to like deal with PTSD, basically?" And Saeed says, "Okay, I'll talk to him." And he goes and has a chat with Charlie and says, "Hey, dude, I know what it's. I know what you're feeling. I know that like that feeling that's like haunting you for the rest of your life. I feel it all the time, pretty much. You're not alone. Stop pretending to be." Is his advice, which is like blunt, but like seems appropriate.
It's nice. Saeed is a really good character in this iteration of the show, and it sort of reiterates how shitty it was to watch him at the end of the show or in the last couple episodes because he didn't do anything. He was like such a useless person in the season 6 episodes, but in the present he's like really interesting, really resourceful, and I mean he actually plays a part in the story.
Yeah, it's such a shame how like everyone in season 6 just becomes like fucking weird empty shells of themselves, and it's such a bummer. And by the way, the way Charlie, Charlie's over it is he asks Claire to go on a walk with him. Aww. Which is like cute, and also like not sure if getting over a murder is quite that easy, but I'll buy it.
The second that he had that little talk, he was like, "Oh, I'm all right now.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm ready to." It's also like disorienting, like in a show that like one of the first shows to kind of treat death as like just kind of like a callous. I don't want to say callous, but like your Games of Thrones of the day, where it's like everybody dies and you're a fool for liking anybody good because everybody dies. This is this is a show to blame for that a bit, I think, because it definitely goes off the rails and treats like. It's definitely not as bad as Game of Thrones is, but it still does a lot of
likes to kill
important characters for drama. Likes to kill non-important characters for drama. Likes to do a lot of murder, and it's weird seeing it treat the deaths like they're affecting people. When later seasons have like whole swaths of the survivors blowing up and everybody just being like, "Whoa, that was crazy.
Too bad."
Yeah. Shit, we gotta keep going. And it's just
they were only in the tail section.
Yeah, it doesn't like even like season 2, like Hurley's sad about Libby, but nobody fucking cries about Ana Lucia at all.
No. Ana Lucia is dead, and then she's like, she didn't even get buried. They just left her in the hatch for the rest of the series. She was there for 4 years. She's like laying on the couch.
God, yeah, that's a real shame, and it's a bummer. I think that's pretty much the. Oh yeah, there's a couple other things about the Sawyer versus boar plotline that I want to highlight, including a scene where
I know exactly where you're going.
A scene where they manage to track the boar's like home basically, and Sawyer manages to find a little like boar piglet, and he's like, "Hey, now we know he lives there," and then he starts like holding the piglet up and being like. And like screaming like, "Here, piggy, 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 piggy!"
Here, piggy, 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 piggy.
It's a wild scene.
I actually have written here.
And Kate gets pissed and leaves.
Yeah, she's like, "I'm not doing this anymore." Yeah. Even though she doesn't really leave, she just like walks 10 feet away and then follows Sawyer.
Yep.
But I do have written here specifically about that scene. Whenever that scene was going on, I wrote down. Here, piggy, piggy, piggy.
Yeah,
piggy, piggy, piggy.
It's a good line of dialogue.
You should do it in an Australian accent. Yeah, piggy, piggy, piggy.
That's how Australians sound. And the boar versus Sawyer plotline wraps up with Sawyer has the boar at gunpoint, and he says, "Hey, maybe I shouldn't kill this boar." And he doesn't kill the boar. He doesn't go through with it. Maybe he's starting to grow, this Sawyer guy. Maybe he's remembering the murder he committed, and he's going, was it worth it? I don't think it was.
No.
And then he runs into Jack, gives him a gun, and catches they kind of shoot the shit a bit, and Jack says, "That's why the Red Sox will never win the World Series."
Oh.
Which, guess what? Same thing Jack's dad said in that bar. So Sawyer puts 2 and 2 together and goes, "Your dad a doctor?" And Jack says, "Yeah, my dad was a doctor. He was a surgeon and he got fired, blah, blah, blah. Why are you so interested in my dad?" And Sawyer goes, "No reason at all," and saunters off, and that's the episode.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That was an episode.
That was an episode. A couple of other things I want to highlight about season 1 episodes is that the camera is way shakier.
It was so shaky. It was insane.
It was bananas. There's a few scenes where the camera holds still, like in the Never Have I Ever scene, or the scene in the bar where the camera seems like it's very it all seems very composed, but everything else is real, your classic early 2000s, you gotta shake the camera a bunch because otherwise it's not real.
You know how when you're hanging out, you just move your head a bunch?
Yeah, you're just moving like this.
You're rocking. Your body is writing uncontrollably.
Yeah, that's how we trick people into thinking it's real. Is that it's real people don't compose shots beautifully.
Yeah, you can't focus on one thing.
Yeah, exactly. You can't just hold your gaze steady and then zoom in slowly. That's not how people are. You gotta be real. You gotta be swiveling around like a wild man.
Yeah, so that was bizarre.
Yeah, that took some getting used to, for sure.
I can see why they stopped doing it.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, for all the guff we give the later seasons, and as deserved as all that guff is, glad they grew out of it. Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. Do we have any other thoughts that we want to share on the episode Outlaws, starring the protagonist of the show, Sawyer?
I thought it was fun that the guns were in play again.
The guns! The most important part of the show is the gun. Of course, there's a famous...
According to what we've seen.
Yes.
It's so funny how the process of just randomly generating episodes just ties things together in ways you wouldn't expect.
Yep. We love guns. We love Sawyer.
When it's these are so far away, and I'm sure they're barely mentioned in between.
For context, because this is the part of the show where surviving on the island and how are they going to get by is still a thing. Those dynamics of, who's got all the supplies, who's got all the water, who's got all the medicine, who's got all the guns. The guns. And Sawyer's got one gun, unaccounted for, that he kept for himself, and he uses it to try to murder this boar until he chickens out and then gives it to Jack at the end.
Who's the actor that plays Sawyer?
Josh Holloway.
Josh Holloway. Do you remember around this time, whenever this season was airing, after this episode, he released his really great hip-hop video? It goes "Got one gun. What you gonna do, Jack?"
Did that happen, or was that a fever dream?
At night, I'll attack.
I think... I don't know what to make
Got
of.
one gun. I'm the chosen one. Everybody knows that you're your dad's son, and I met your dad in a bar really far away in Australia. I want to sail with you across the ocean back to America. Welcome to Hysterica. You're in a fever dream. Want to go take a bath in the stream? Well,
I'm going to dispute heavily that ever happened.
that was real. I remember that. I remember that. Oh my god. Got one gun.
My favorite part is that there's no beat to it. It was very ahead of... Very avant-garde.
It was specifically because I'm not a very good rapper. But that was actually how it went when he wrote it.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Holloway is as gifted a rapper as anybody.
Yeah. Is anybody?
I mean, Young Thug.
And then
Smalls,
what was his other
Josh
single
Holloway.
that he came out with a bit later was
This looks
it was
like
a bit more of an R&B song. It was like, fuck you and then my briefcase falls.
Yeah, I remember
What
that.
was it like to lick my balls? Oh.
I think we've gone a bridge too far. I think you had a good moment until you had to bring the balls into it.
It was Josh Holloway once again. I'm just
Yeah,
recounting
right.
historical events at this point.
Right. I think
they took it off YouTube, but it is on Vimeo.
Yeah, you can find it on Vimeo. You can find the 30-minute extended cut on Dailymotion if you dig deep enough.
Sure, E-bombs were on.
Yeah, you can find it on Newgrounds.
I think it was like Google Video exclusive, and then when that went away, it all went away.
Yeah, well, they bought YouTube, so what are they gonna do with Google Video?
No one was watching it.
That's.
On that note.
On the note of Josh Holloway's 2 minor hits, I think we've pretty much exhausted all we can talk about. The episode Outlaws. Here's the thing: 3 episodes out of 5 out of Sawyer. You run out of things to say about Sawyer.
Oh my god, the next one cannot be about Sawyer.
I think that if it is about Sawyer, we should allow it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think.
I think the problem is that we're gonna have to go into the rest of Josh Holloway's discography. We're gonna have to go to the deep cuts to album
that's
tracks.
gonna be an incredible one. I think. Yeah, if it happens, we should brainstorm songs.
Yeah, and then we can talk about it and be like, it's the same as every other Sawyer episode. He's mad and he's sad about his con past. Meanwhile, here's
his hit from when this episode was released.
Yeah.
I was a con man and now I'm just playing in the sand on the beach. That was back when he was a blues artist.
He was a real jack of all trades in the music industry, wasn't he?
He was a
Sawyer of all trades, I suppose.
Sawyer of all trades.
All right, we should.
Oh, what's the other? I did make a Sawyer joke that I wanted to say. So Sawyer, what's that stand for? It stands for
I don't know. What does it stand for, James?
It stands for saw your mother last night.
Oh boy. Well,
that was the last thing in my notes.
I think that we should both be placed under arrest. This has been the Island Shuffle.
Goodbye and never again.
Never again, except for probably next week. But yeah, never again.
Never again.
Never again.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Oh, by the way, you can follow me on Twitter at Barrier Trio. You can follow James Brown at James Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Follow us. We'll have RSS feed up soon. Hopefully, we're gonna have some album.
We're gonna get a picture.
We're gonna have the whole 9 yards. I hope. Thanks again. Keep on rocking and get lost.